MetaQuest 3 in 2023. Should you buy one? Well, I don't have one to test or anything, so I'm just going to shoot from the hip, kind of like Pistol Whip, and just let you know what I think about the Quest lineup altogether. And that is, they are cell phone VR systems, basically. It's cell phone VR on steroids. I've said that before in other videos, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of what VR is the interconnectivity. My most fun VR times are when I'm playing with someone else. I've had some really therapeutic times when I'm playing by myself, but the ones where I really feel like time was spent well and I don't regret it is with other people. Because in reality, you're just sitting there with a thing on your face. It could be a washcloth, if it's worth it. It could be cucumbers, if it's worth it. You know, that's the therapy side of it. But it could be sunglasses if you're hanging out with someone. So that's where the multiplayer comes in, and I think that is where Meta shines, is that you can play multiplayer games without spending an arm and a leg, and that's great, or excellent, or good, or whatever. I'm not sure which action word they're going to be using there, but um, you know, I don't buy Meta products. I got to be honest. I've always been curious about them. As far as ownership, not just getting to wear one for a minute, but as far as having one and seeing it through 6 months and purchasing items. But one thing I found out with a lot of consoles is that you get locked into a console. And I was always into getting locked into PlayStations and Xboxes, and mostly PlayStation, because they had really good exclusives and they just seemed like they cared. I don't know, there was something about it. It just felt like they really cared. Like when you own one and you don't have any biases, you feel like PlayStation cares. That's what I think. And I think Meta's kind of going after that. Meta cares, you know. Um, if you're into airplanes, Xbox cares. They really do. And so um, I think they're going for a segment of caring about something. So I think interoperability is really their high mark. That's their best thing to get, even though the graphics may be a little bit more poor on their standalone side of things. Now, of course, you can always run a computer, but it's going to be compressed, and it's going to use some of your computer's resources to compress it. So it's kind of like playing the game while recording, and instead of recording it, you just send it off to the headset. So it all starts to eat at your performance. Everything about the Meta Quest, it comes down to eating performance, whether it be not having it in the first place or if it's on your computer, it kind of gobbles some up trying to get over the headset. So when you get into PC VR, you might find that a little bit cheaper PC and an older headset would look actually better and be able to play games and look and be more fun, maybe even, just depending, because a lot of the games, they're kind of um, they're minimized, like they put everything on lowest settings and then they omit some things. So you get the game and that's nice, but it ends up being kind of on the lowest settings. So what you can do is get a computer that runs on the lowest settings for about five, six, $700 and get an old used headset. Maybe it'd be $800, $900, and you'd have PCVR. And then when you buy your games, they're always there. They're always on PC. You don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have that headset anymore. It's no longer supported. It's supported. It's on PC. So um, I've always, I was always hearing a lot of PC pro talk while owning consoles, and I got out of PC for a long time after the Halo series. I got out because of they just didn't have the controller setup where you would be able to have a default controller setup that wasn't there at the time. You had to do everything was map yourself. So if you had a friend over, they didn't know what the controls were. It could be different from what they play, and it was making things really one-off on the PC side. So I got out of that. I've gotten back into PCs. I've always had a PC for CAD or other things, but I just didn't game on it ever. I always just thought, you know what? I tried that. you have your hard drive go out once or twice and you just swear it off. It's like, I'm not doing this again unless you want to do it like a RAID setup. But now they have SSDs. It's just a whole different time now. We have Xbox on PC, which I really don't buy from. I think I have a couple on there. But, I hate to say it, but I've been using Steam. I mean, that's the truth of it. I've been using Steam. You can get Steam codes from places like G2A. You can get games a lot cheaper, and you can start a wish list, and then they put them on sale, and you get them really cheap, and it's always there. And then if you make any upgrades or you make any changes, you can still play your games. And then if you don't even have a PC, a lot of your games you'll be able to stream to your phone from GeForce Now. And that's really just making it to be like there's no boxing out. No one's boxing you out. You don't have to buy their headset. It's all subsidies over there on the PlayStation 2 and also the Meta. And Meta is trying to go for it even one step further, I think. So when it comes down to the specs of the headset, it's not bad. It's really kind of nice for right now. But what I see on the horizon, if I was into those types of headsets, all you have to do is wait and you'll get better. So, and that's going to be the case when the better comes out, is all you have to do is wait and you'll get better. Because, I mean, just on the horizon, I think the Pico, which, that side of the world is making all these headsets anyway. And, they're kind of skipping you anyway for making it. And then they don't expect you to skip them for making it. So it makes it kind of a catch-22. So they want to have the cheapest and best products made and then sell them to you. And then you want the cheapest and best also. So if you act like they act, you buy the Pico 4. This is what I'm saying. If you do what they do, you buy the Pico 4 because that's what they're doing. And so the Pico 5, which will be coming out, I believe, in 2024 sometime, is going to have a resolution similar to the Big Screen Beyond. And I believe the lenses will be pretty nice. And it will be standalone, which the Big Screen Beyond is not. And it will be probably about $500, which the Big Screen Beyond is not. And it will have tracking. And it will have controllers. And you can just use it on your PC like a PCVR headset. And I believe it's going to have DisplayPort. Now, these are all rumors and it's things I've read, so I have no idea. For all I know, the company will go bankrupt and we'll never see a Pico 5. But from some other things I've read, that they're going to have 2 tiers higher that are going to be more like the Reverb G2. What was it about the Reverb G2 that so many people liked? It had resolution, what do they call that? Future proofing. It was future proofed resolution wise. Now that's good and bad. If you have a PC and the resolution is too high, it has to think about too many pixels and it bogs you down. But somehow the Reverb was just right, that it was future proof just enough that you could stand to pump those extra pixels or sample down a little bit and it didn't bog it down too much. And then you had 2 or 3 years of staying ahead of the pixel game, and that's where a headset should really, really be. Instead of being the headset that is for right now, it could be one for the next couple of years or 3 or 4 years. Easily, if you bought a Reverb G2, you got 4 years of life out of it without really feeling like you needed to upgrade. It's like, yeah, that's better technically, but I'm having a great time, and it's working out really nice. Now that it's also thanks to Meta shooting lower, always kind of shooting 1800 by 1800 or whatever those specs were, and now 2000 by 2200. It's still shy of 2160 by 2160, which both the Pico 4 has and the Reverb G2 has. The Pico 4, I believe, having a little bit wider field of view, so it kind of takes the pixels per degree down to about 90% of the Reverb G2 or so. And I believe it has better lenses, but I'm looking for that next sweet spot of upgrade. I don't like to upgrade a lot because you're flushing money down the toilet unless you're really recouping a lot of value from the last one. It's everybody, they know what they're doing with their own money. If they want to buy a PC and run it for 4 years, or if they want to upgrade every 2 years and sell the old PC and get that money back, how much devaluing you will realize, you'd have to do your own math. But it does come into play. If you buy the Reverb G2 with an excellent price, especially used, you might only devalue $100 over the next 2 or 3 years. You could buy it for $250 from Trendford on eBay, and then in 3 years you could sell it for $150 or $125, and you've only devalued $125. That's all you have into it. And then all your games are on PC, so you can always pick your games back up on PC, no matter where you are, like on your phone even. And it's just really competitive that way, that you don't lose your games. Because if, like for PlayStation 1 games, if I hadn't bought those on PlayStation 1, the VR one, it was PlayStation 4, but on the VR one, if I hadn't bought those on that and I bought them on Steam, I could play them right now on my 3080 Ti, which is getting a little bit old now, but it's still on the higher end of things, at least mid-grade, and it would look really fantastic on a Reverb G2. But instead, if I want to play those games, I have to go back to the PlayStation VR 1. So that's the case with it. That's what happens when you buy on these smaller ecosystems, is you're stuck. You're stuck on that ecosystem. Some people don't care. They draw it up on the ecosystem, they play it, and they put it back down. It's an older game anyway. It wasn't going to get that great. But if you have a really nice system, say you have a 4090, or say in a year when this video is still valid, you have a 5090, a year and a half, whatever. You have a 5090, you have the second gen AM5, and you're just going all hog wild. You got $4,000 into it, and then you can play these older games, and they're super crisp. They play better than ever. And those last 3 levels you never played, you play, and you remember what you were doing, and you finish the game, which I just did on the VR1, the PlayStation VR1. I played them, and I played some like Shooty Fruity. I hadn't played that in forever, and I played that, and it was a lot of fun because I had company. I wasn't playing by myself, although that can be fun as well. And we had a great time, and it was just really fun, and I got some more levels beat that I was not going to be playing. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I could just play those on my PC? So this is something, this is if you're new, you maybe don't know this. If you have been in the game for a while and you've been playing games and consuming the art of virtual reality, that's what people don't understand. If like I hate to say it, but people with a lot of money, they give things a bad rap fast. They're like into money and power and gritting their teeth, and they want that dopamine and all that. And what they don't understand is they're spending $100 million on a painting, and that's their art. Why is it worth $100 million? Because no one else gets to get it. Now the gaming, what if these games were $100 million and only one person could play it? I think all of a sudden the richest of the rich would say, this isn't small-time bagel BS. These are really nice, and it would just be because of them being finite. The only reason the gaming gets kind of like is because they're infinite. You can just copy it. Everybody gets one. We can all run through them, and it's fun as heck, and that was great. But we didn't actually do anything, but we enjoyed ourselves. And so I think later in life, some of that can wear off as being what you want to do, possibly. But I'm getting a little bit older. I'm not a real young chap anymore, and I still enjoy the gaming. But I have to do it when I would normally be downtime. During a time that I would normally say, if you watch TV, no one says, "Oh, I wasted my life on watching TV." Well, same with virtual reality. You just don't watch TV. You can't watch TV all night and then get into games all night, and then that's your life. You just can't do that. You have to have a life. So the one nice thing about the headsets where you get to hang out with other people is that life that you have can be incorporated. You can talk to your friend. You can have time with, if you have kids, you can play with your kids in VR and give them opportunities. What do people like to do? They like to go play putt-putt. They like to do go-karts. They like to go to the play place. All those things, and they're so finite. You go there, and it's like $20 an hour. There's a line. They didn't clean the grass. It's muddy. It just rained. There's just a lot of problems that come up. Like I bought a kite and a mountain board, and there was nowhere to do it. There wasn't anywhere. I found one place where I could go up and down the beach and they had some grass and I was able to kite back and forth. But if you look for flat land in the city where you can just get a mountain board and a kite and do a little kite boarding, like what do they call that? Mountain kite or something. If you try that, there isn't anywhere to do it where I live within 100 miles. Well, maybe, but it's always owned by someone, and there's always going to be some logistics that aren't working out. So that's where VR frees you up. If you go to the airport, there's going to be somebody there with a lot more money than you that can get out there, and you're going to be wanting to rent an airplane, and you'll be going for like 2 hours. Unless you're the guy that has a $40 million airplane, this conversation doesn't apply to you. But if you're a person that's renting an airplane for $400 or $500 an hour, you have just such a finite amount of time to enjoy yourself. You can spend $2,000 and you're up for 4 hours, and then you come back down and you go, well, that was my time in my life to be flying. So VR, it frees that up. It says, hey, you can fly in the middle of the winter, and it will be a nice hot summer day, and you can fly around Bora Bora, where to stay the night would be $3,000. So $3,000 would eat up the cost of your PC in one shot, just one night. And you can go ahead and, Christmas, New Year's, Ramadan, I don't know, I don't want to get into all that. Just whenever the heck you want to, and for whatever reason, we can go flying. So that's what Microsoft Flight Simulator is good for. There's always that feeling that you're not doing anything, and you definitely need to be doing things. And that's where the talking to other people comes in. So that's my take on the Meta Quest 3, is that I just feel like it's just good enough for right now. They're going to make things for right now, and then within a year and a half, it's going to be old news. They're going to drop you like a hot potato, and they don't care. They just don't, because they can't afford to. They gave you a headset for $500. How could they care? I mean, they're going to care for as long as about a year and a half, and then they're going to be moved on to the next $500 headset. So if you can get that headset and you can sell it and only lose $200 in a year and a half, maybe it'd be worth it to you. You're looking at $15, $20 a month, plus the cost of your games. But honestly, seriously consider maybe PlayStation VR or the PC. I think it would be nice to have. Maybe you probably want to get better than a 1070, but even a 1070 I think is going to be more powerful than anything that Meta has now or even in the next 3 years. I mean, a 1070 I think is more like a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I think they're getting they're getting like 2 teraflop right now, and PlayStation 4 Pro was 4 teraflops, so you're looking at double the processing power. Now it has less pixels on the PS4 Pro, and the CPU side might be, I'm not sure, but like I said, the headsets are a little bit more like an ASIC, so they're made for the job they're doing, kind of like how a Bitcoin miner would be, but for headsets. So they do have some advantages for doing what they're doing, solely for that purpose, the way they're designed. But I guess I'm just saying, have a little bit of caution with these headsets. I think the mixed reality is neat, but I've had that on my phone, and it was neat for a little while. It was cool for a little while. They had this thing where, like on the 3DS, do you remember the 3DS? And they had the game where these things you could point it around the room, and things would come out of the walls, and you could shoot them, and it was like, oh my gosh, the novelty was really high for 10 minutes. And some games are like that. The novelty is through the roof for 10 minutes, and then you're left with, And I think it's a little bit like Astrobot on PlayStation VR 1. It's a really awesome game because the novelty of it all is just like a 11 out of 10. But that wears off after about 25 minutes, and then you're to the grind of the game, and it can kind of wear you down to where you want to do something else. If you're like me. Now, some people might play that game over 10 times in a row and be happy to do so. But some of these things, they're high novelty, and then that's it. So that's the mixed reality. Could potentially be that way. Now, the way you can map out your room and map out your couch, I think that's really neat. If they can incorporate to where you sit down in VR and you see your chair, but other things are happening, I'm not even going to make any suggestions because it'll be like I thought of it. I'm sure I'm just talking about what's there already. The the mapping of the room and the couch and everything. I wish they could do that. I play some of these games would be neat if they incorporated that. I think Steam could really use an app that would incorporate some of that and allow you to change your view in the game, no matter what game, and see your couch. I guess I thought of that, but I'm sure it's been thought of with so many study groups about this. Everything you could possibly say on the internet about virtual reality has come up in the boardroom. It's just whether or not it's being pursued. But I think that would be nice to say for American Truck Simulator. They have a bed in the back. You do a run of truck, you drop off the thing, and then you need to go sleep. But wouldn't it be nice if you could just see your couch in the back of, or at least line the couch up with the couch or bed in the cab. They have like a day cab, and then they have like a sleeper cab. And the sleeper cab, you could line up your sleeping area with the sleeping area in the game. And then no matter what, that will be lined up. So when you come up to it, or there's a point that you could stand at, like maybe a point where that lines up, and then you walk 2 or 3 steps over to your place. So like you're able to, in American Truck Simulator, it would just be you look behind you and there it is. And you can line it up. You could put a seat in front of your couch, and then when you're done playing, it would be easy to set up if you had the right dimensions from your seat to your bed. But if that was, I see some of that with the MetaQuest 3, and I think that's pretty neat. That's the part that I think's neat, because that's what really needs to happen, is to have the marriage between reality and VR. But not just have things coming out of the walls and stuff. I mean, it would be nice if they had the fully fledged games and you get to sit down. But you know what? When they do it on Meta, I probably won't buy it. So I'm making these suggestions, but you know what? I probably won't buy it. And I hate to say it, but it's political, because if you come up with something, there's no support. You get an S. And then they expect you to get behind on theirs. And the only recourse we have is to say, I'm not doing that, man. You know, they want to S everybody else's ideas, and then go to China and get stuff cheap and expect you not to go to China and get stuff cheap. So I know that Pico is going to China and getting stuff cheap, the same way that Meta is. And then you are your own little Zuckerberg in a way. I went to China and I got one too. And in fact, I think a lot of what he's getting is just a little bit of AliExpress. You know, it's just a little bit of what's already there. You know, he's getting a little spiral slicer and he's putting his name on it, and there you go. But you didn't know, you know, that they were making spiral slicers yet, because they hadn't made it here yet. So he's got his team over there looking about what's being made, and he's cherry picking devices and technologies, and also saying, well, make it like this, make it like that. But you know, also China's getting their chips from Qualcomm. Where's Qualcomm? Is that a American company? I have no idea. So there's politics in it for me. If there's no politics in it for you, maybe you are just looking for a certain headset. But even still, without any kind of politics involved, the MetaQuest is just for right now, like for the next year and a half, and it's going to be having probably less updates after a year after that. So you're looking at 2.5 years of life. And on a PC, you could have an old Vive or an old Rift and still play all the newest games. And you could super sample with a newer system, and they would look pretty darn good. I know, because I put the PlayStation VR 1 on my PC for a while with iVRE, and I super sampled to 400%, and you would be surprised how anti-aliased and clear it can look, even though it's only going through 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. Somehow those pixels see a lot more information. It's a little bit like a pixel shift projector, where as you move, they're blinking on and off in a way that reflects the pixels that are there. It's hard to explain, but it seems to work, because I do have a pixel shift projector up there. That's a Optoma 38. What is it? UHD 38X or something? I don't know. And I also had the ViewSonic, and I like the ViewSonic a lot too. They have the newer one. That's 240 hertz, that one. It's only in 1080p, and then the colors kind of get solid. They don't, all your color changes go away, so it's just kind of like a default color setting. But it's 240 hertz in what is that game? Dirt 5. So I usually set it to 120. It'll go up to like 180 hertz or 200, and sometimes up to 240. But the way it bounces around, it's not. I like it better at just a solid 120 because it makes 120 no problem. So, anyways, getting into a long ramble. I play a lot of VR. You know, it gets you off the hook. It's great therapy. Some people put cucumbers on their eyes. Other people they put I'm in the sky in a $2.5 million airplane on their eyes. It's your prerogative. Do whatever you want. I even stretch a little bit sometimes because I might be sitting down too much. It's all the same. If you're enjoying your life, I say that's cool. If you're not losing any freedoms, I say that's cool. If you're losing freedoms, that's not cool. You know, and all that search and seizure is out the door. I don't care what anybody says. We're not allowed to see in your house. We're not gonna. No illegal search and seizure. Don't use your phone because it's basically it's not illegal, but it's search. It's not seizure. It's a search and seizure of your information. But there's no two ways about it. I mean, it's like, what are you gonna do about it? That's going through their systems. And I think those VPNs are just a lot of. That's a lot of hockamamie. You have all your information going through their system, and they're just protecting you, right? Or are they making a database on everybody? It's a free cell phone app that collects information. Basically, it's a VPN. You go through theirs, and yeah, it confuses the local system to think you're local, but at the same time, they have a lot of information to go through there, and they have almost a what do they call it? Like a responsibility to make sure that it's not real dubious. Because if it is, I mean, if you could just make up anything. But if something was going on through there, you would want to know what's going on. It's like if you're renting to someone, you want to make sure that your renter is not stockpiling weapons, or at least if they are, that it's legal, and they're doing it for a good reason, which unfortunately is checked by the people that would wonder if it's a good reason. So it's complicated. We all know the reality of it. To speak on it, I just think we're supposed to be coding left and right about it, but you know, it's a tough world right now, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So think about it. Think about it. Who pick your master is what I'm saying. Pick your master. Who's saying it and who's really doing it? Who's saying the nice things and who's doing the do, and who's not doing it and could but doesn't think that's the right thing to do? And it just comes down to go with your gut is all I'm saying on Meta. Go with your gut on that and think it through totally. And if you're the right person for Meta, then Meta's a good marriage for you. If you're not, consider alternatives. They were saying that the Pico was going to come out with two more tiers. One of them is going to have like a better resolution, and then one of them was going to have 3800 by 3800. I think I meant to say this earlier in the video. 3800 by 3800, possibly. Now that could just be BS, but at some point someone's going to come out with a headset that maybe doesn't have that field of view that's just completely uncanny, but doesn't want to waste resources on it. Maybe it's a little bit cheaper on something. Maybe it feels a little flimsy here. Maybe the controllers aren't as nice, but the tracking works okay, but it's not great, like through the roof awesome, but just pretty good. But it just, that really nice value of VR value that we all look for that will last for 2, 3, or 4 years, to where you can super sample on the tail end and it looks pretty darn good because there was enough pixels there in the first place and has some life. You know, future proofing on things is nice. It's kind of like buying a 5090 and waiting till a 7090 to upgrade with a VR headset rather than upgrading 2 or 3 times. Excuse me. That is my sign to end the video. It's been about a half an hour. I've just been rambling, but that's my thoughts on the Meta Quest 3. Buy it if you like it, I guess, but there are some things to think about, and please think about them before you purchase it. That's all for this video. If you'd like, you can always shop in my eBay store, GB Hatchery. I sell all kinds of used items on eBay. I'll leave a link in the description. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.